from his hand, and telling him that the mission will not be taken so easily. He asks him to go and bring him nabees because he is thirsty. Chang hears the words and goes to get to him from his bag, a zaza nabees, with his hand in his hand. At that time, Zhou was surprised that he used a nabees button that prevents 5 damage just to get mission. But when the man drinks it, he also doesn't like Shuang's important hand. He tells him that since you insist on taking the mission, write me a love letter and sell it to my neighbor Juliet. Then I will think about whether I can do the job for you or not. Chang is really starting to get mad at this man. But he tells himself that he must control himself and that he does not have to be fanatic in order to take on the task. He actually takes out a pen and paper and starts writing his speech. But when he goes to see his neighbor Juliet and arrives in front of the house, they find a chute in front of her and he closes it and hits him in the face with a box. He nervously tells him that if he comes to him and helps this drunk man again, he cuts off both his legs so he can walk. Shuang stays silent and secretly says, "Who is the one who designed this game?" Here, of course, he meant it against himself. After that, he returns again to the drunk man, and he finds him telling him that since you are doing well with the task, I have another task that I need your help with. Then she comes out of the window in front of Chang and explains the mission to him. She asks him if he agrees to take this mission. Chang actually agrees and accepts the mission. Then the drunk man brings out a map and a bell and says that this map is the one that will guide the location of the cemetery. Since the area around the cemetery is dangerous, this bell helps in the event of any disaster. The players around Chang at this time were all astonished that this drunk man actually got drunk. Tools. They ask about the mission he took. They also bring a person and say that he is at level 47 and ask if he wants to cooperate with him. They will do so. This mission together. But Shuang answers him and tells him that he will do this task alone and does not need anyone's help. He tells all the standing players to go back to what they were doing again. Chang then comes out of the hut. At that time, there would be a group of people on the roof of that hut watching him. Their leader says that the first time he leaves the important village, these tools will be set up by them. Shuang leaves the village after that, and by that time she is in a small group to consult about him. She tells her uncle that this is the person who took a mission from the Aesterian level. She asks him to go and walk behind him and see how he finishes a task. But in this city, one of the group who was following Chang got in their way. He keeps telling the little girl that she is beautiful as a form of threat. The little girl is no longer afraid of them. And you ask them what they want to do by following this person. But then her uncle intervenes and tells them that this child is still young and does not speak well enough. He asks the person in front of him to forgive her for her behavior. The girl is upset by her uncle's behavior and tells him that these people are evil. But then her uncle used to envy her for her stupidity and told her that when adults talk to children, they should not stop talking. Their words. When the people in front of her walk, her uncle tells her that next time, try to avoid these people no matter what. The child is surprised by what he says and asks him if he was nice to me even though his level was high. Very. Her uncle responds to her and tells her that a poisonous snake is difficult to control. He says that you have been in this great rift for a long time. That's why there are some rules and laws that you don't know yet. He continues his words and tells her that this great cleft valley is very far from a city. This is what makes it a place full of evil and danger. Even the highest crime rate in the world is in this place. He also tells her that people here don't want to be killed by monsters. Rather, with the hands of the poisonous snakes I told you about. The little girl understands what he is saying and asks him if these people are really so evil. Why doesn't the Players Association stop them? Her uncle replied that it was normal for people to die in the cells. It is impossible for the association to install cameras in the garage there. Even if someone tried and installed it, how could this crime be investigated? The child continues her questions and asks if this means that the target of the poisonous snakes will be in danger. Big. Her uncle responds to her and tells her that they are the beginning of what will happen to them. Because these young people do not know that when you receive a task like this, it will be better for them that you join. The union works together. If someone tries it and goes alone and blames his ego for controlling him, the consequences will not be good. After that, we go to the entrance to the misty forest. When Chang arrives, he notices that he is being inflicted with poisonous curses. He asks himself if they intend to attack him soon after he enters the forest. When he enters the forest and walks for a while, he tells himself that the fog has become so thick that it is difficult. Look for anything. At the same time, someone from the university you are attending attacks him with an arrow. But Shuang senses me at the last moment and is able to save him. Then he quickly hides behind a tree and realizes that only 4 people are following him. On the other hand, when this person was unable to leave Chang at a close distance, his friend scolds him and tells him that he should practice his shooting skills more. He tells him to watch him and watch him now as he tries to play this game just for fun. At that time, an attacker came to Shuang with a fire attack from the factions with him. But Shuang is able to reveal himself also and asks himself how he can determine his location. At that time, his friend made fun of him and told him that he was not on target either, and that he had no right to say anything. Shuang, on the other hand, is trying to run quickly and escape from them. But he suddenly stops because he senses danger near him because of the Devil's Grace skill that he acquired. Then he activates the Devil's Eye and sees a deranged person hiding himself and attacks him. But Xuanji is able to block this attack at the last moment. This is what made the person who attacks his leader, whose name is Ange. This player may also be a psychopath, as he was able to see him through his feature. but the commander responds to him and tells him that he would rather attack him and not give him any chance to escape. Then, Xuanji finds that this psychopath is lost and suddenly away from him, in the middle of his place, and someone kills him. This is because the person with the cup made an attack, making it rain arrows from the sky. Xuanji is trying not to let any arrow hit him. He tells himself that this long-range attack could completely paralyze him. This is what gives the psychopath an opportunity to sneak up behind him and attack him. That's why he said and admitted that this group of sky cultists had a distinctive Katala style. He concludes with himself that they must have worked together for a long period of time. He opens the map he has after that to see how he can escape. But it suddenly becomes clear when he sees something on the map and stands in front of a certain tree. This is what happened when the person with the cup told himself that it was his idea to escape. He keeps wondering why he doesn't run away suddenly. Chang then tries to provoke him. He tells him that if a group of idiots are following me, then we don't need to run away. This person becomes very angry at Shuang's reaction and tells him to condemn himself to death. At that moment, he goes to attack him with an arrow from the one he has, but Shuang easily dodges and knocks the arrow into a tree. Suddenly, we find the tree's trunk beginning to writhe, and the tree itself appears alive. We then learn that this tree is actually the monster that protects the forest, and the one whose level of difficulty has reached the level at which. At this moment, the person who shot her with the arrow was completely surprised that this place had a boss like a dungeon. He asks his commander, whose name is Ange, to help him because the tree has already identified him as a target. But the gang and the leader do not want to help him, and they miss the point that they are fighting this monster. This is because he is at level 42 and they say that they are caught in the trap of the game they were following. At this moment, the person with the magic wand is attacking his friend who knocked down the tree. He tells him that the tree's anger was because of him. Therefore, after the tree dies, he will attack this boy because he is the closest person to it. In this way, they will not have to fight the leader. And then they try to escape. In this case, Xuanji is watching and wondering everything that is happening. He tells himself that he expected that these toxic fatigues would multiply each other, as long as this is related to a danger to their lives or a threat to them. We come back again and stay with the gang, and one of them tells President Zhong that there is something strange going on. It is that the tree's anger is not transferred to the boy there, but is transferred to us. He asks him to think quickly about any way to save them. At that time, the arrogant person will have his stealth mode activated. He gets real and tells them that he must run away now and leave them. But suddenly he finds that the tree has turned its attack on him and is able to kill him. Commander Zhangji was standing and surprised by what happened. He tells himself that the attack now was on Xiao Yu. But this did not happen, and instead of attacking Xiao Yu, she went and attacked Xiao Zhenji, who was trying to escape. He then concludes that the monster's attack has nothing to do with his anger. He just goes and attacks anyone who moves. He says that this monster definitely uses waves to sense the targets it is attacking. And if they did not move and remained in their place, the monster would not be able to attack them. This really happened, and the boy there was not attacked by the monster because he did not move for a moment. This indicates that he definitely knows the monster's attack system and its settings. The leader then tries to warn Xiaoyu and tells him that if you don't move the monster, it will not attack him. Xiaoyu listens to his commander's words and stays in his place. In fact, the monster does not attack you at that time. Then a plan came to the commander and he ordered him to attack Shuang with a fire snake attack. He actually carries out his costume and what the leader says, but he stops his attack at the last second. This is because he was going to be angry with the monster after Chang moved a little and dodged his attack. This made them all wonder how the girls moved while the monster did not attack him like them. On the other hand, Chang would be surprised at how they were able to understand the monster's attack system during that period. This short one, he tells himself that they are strong and strong too. Even if any victim was the target of these toxic fatigues, she would have no chance of escaping from them. He also says that it is against toxic fatigue. There is no time to hesitate. It opens along the length of its grip. He comes out with a pussy and contributes and attacks Xiaoyu with it. This made Xiaoyu have to use Fireball to defend himself and invalidate his shares. But the luck of his attack hits the monster. He loses his life in a second. Chang didn't waste any time after that. He begins to attack their leader with the same taunts. But the leader can break all the arrows with his sword. Then he enters a state of agitation. He tells Chang to stop because he has more confidence. And he runs to attack him. He tells him that he will show him the extent of the gap in power between them. At this time, Commander Zhangji thinks that the pronunciation is close to the beast. He doesn't attack him. That's why Chang's workers moved freely without any problems. This is the only logical explanation for this topic. After that, he directs his words to Chang and tells him not to think that you are safe because you are hiding behind the monster. At that time, Shuang Bacon was preparing to fight the monster. He says that this time he is able to fight the monster with the same efficiency. He also talks to himself and says that the bloodthirsty tree of Satan is a wild beast, but not weak at all. On the contrary, it is stronger than some dungeon bosses of this level. After that, Chang was surprised by the reason for this person's excessive behavior and that he would kill him while facing a strong leader in such a way. This, he concludes that he definitely has a rare and effective performance. Before he finished speaking, Commander Zhong Mazek had in his hand a crystal ball called the Fire Dragon's Roar. Its effect is that it completely destroys the surrounding area other than its high range. Shuang is surprised and tells himself that this person is just a stupid suicide. Suddenly, there was an explosion so severe that all the people in the village could see it. Even the girl and her uncle, who are at the entrance to the forest and are following Chang and the gang, see this explosion. Then her uncle repeats that they are retreating and tells her that they cannot go deeper into the forest than that, because there is a very dangerous issue. We return again to Shuang, who is trying to gather energy after this attack. They say that if it had not happened at that time, Zaman would have died from the attack that happened. They also say that the effect of this valid evidence was so strong that the tree leader's boot was in front of him and something. It is fortunate for him that this person was one of the poisonous ones, and he preferred that we let him die and not use evidence. This must is in the first place, because at that time he would have been in real great danger. He then goes to the commander's office and says that this poisonous beast must have been very rich, because a large number of magic crystals fell after he died. But suddenly, Zhang moved and tried to direct the attack. But Shuang could escape very easily. This is what made the leader surprised that I knew how this person discovered that he was pretending to be dead. Chang responds to him and says, "You are very stupid, because when players die, their tools do not throw away in this random manner. After the explosion that happened, you threw your tools randomly as an act. Of course, I thought you would be blinded by greed and that you would be able to attack me while I was collecting these tools." Commander Zhangji is right when he hears this. He says that Xuanji definitely knows a lot about the game. He also tells him that he must have seen a number of people killed before. He says to himself that compared to him, I feel that Xuanji is more tired than me. At this moment, Xuanji asks him and says, "I'm interested in knowing how you were able to survive this massive explosion, especially since you are the same person and you were present at the center of the explosion." Zhangji replies to him that he is about to die anyway and there is no harm in knowing. He tells him that he has a rare disability that allows him to be able to use two family weapons at the same time. The second weapon used by other than the Fire Dragon Visitor is the weapon of protection from the Fire Dragon Visitor. He also says that these two weapons cost me about 1 billion, and I wanted to use them against self-defense kings. But I never expected that I could use them against someone like you. He continues his talk with Shuang after that. He tells him that the only thing he understood was how the leader attacked him even when he was moving. Chang responds to him and says the reason is that I look like a monster too, because he and I are considered part of the devil's nest. Aniga starts talking to him and tells him that he is no longer a liar, but then he nervously tells him that it's not on his mind, because it is easier for him to find answers from his dead body. At this time, Shuang activates the target setting skill on him. It is noticed that Zhang only pretends to be coherent, but in fact, he is suffering from serious injuries due to the recent attack. When Chang identifies him as a target, Zhang feels a very new fear, as if there was a predator that had identified him as a target. He says it is impossible for this boy to be stronger than me, because I haven't even reached the 20th level yet. And then Shuang goes transformed into the true devil. He tells him that this battle will be easy, quickly, and before Zhang notices it, his situation is over. This is what makes him tell Chang that he is exactly like the martial kings. You two haven't killed people since the beginning, and they became demons. After that, Chang was surprised that by killing the player, he gained so many points in the game. The level also increased significantly. It is even more surprising that I have not heard information like this from players before. But then he tells himself that this may have happened because he is a devil and nothing more. He asks himself if the Night Elves too can raise their level by killing players. After that, Shuang received all the tools and treasures that these 4 people found after their death. He would be surprised if they had a large amount of these many treasures. He takes out Zhang's sword to explore it and is shocked by its awesome capabilities. But unfortunately, he still knows that only people who specialize in agitated or similar cases are the ones who can. They use it. After that, they try to discover his ring. He finds that this is the tool that allows him to use 2 family weapons at the same time. What will her scarp be made of? This performance only occurs in a prison cell accompanied by a meter B or higher. So Chang thinks and says that only some of the major unions are able to clear a dungeon. The response is B. He asks himself if this person is really destined to do this. After time passes, a group from the Green Goat Syndicate comes to investigate the big explosion that occurred. When they survey the place, the soldier tells the commander that they were able to find 4 spies. The leader is shocked when he sees the body of a black man. The soldier sees the commander's shock and asks him if he knows this person. He responds to the leader and tells him that this is the brother of the Union president. His name is Zheng Qianni. The soldiers think to themselves when they hear this. He tells him that the Union president actually has a younger brother, but he doesn't like to participate in dungeon raids. We learned after that it remained a toxic form of fatigue. Because of the identity of the Union president, the Fishermen's Association does not know how to take any action against him. The leader remains surprised when he sees his body. He says that the head of the Union has a lot of rare tools. It is impossible for him to be unable to win against any wild beast. He says that there were 3 spies who were definitely killed by this wild beast, but the wound on the body of the brother of the Union leader appears to have been inflicted by someone with a weapon. Sharp. A soldier comes to him at this time and tells him that they discovered his gun and found it all empty. Then the commander tells the soldiers that the person who did this will definitely not go very far. They are asked to inform the Union of this incident and arrest any suspects near the area. We return again to Chang, and whoever succeeds in reaching the cell gate. As soon as he is afraid, he hears a voice telling him that he is paying a high price because of his stupid actions. At that time, the bones on the ground begin to gather and form 3 skeletons with their weapons. Chang is surprised and tells himself that this is completely different from what he designed. The first floor is not supposed to contain any skeletons at this level. Certainly, the backward system that exists now is the one that is changing the game settings. At this moment, one of the skeletons is trying to attack him with his spear, but Shuang succeeds in repelling his attack and remains surprised by his strength, even though he is a skeleton. At the same moment, the second skeleton with a spear tries to attack him while he is busy fighting. but Chang manages to get out of his head and jump in the air. But the third temple had a goose and shot an arrow at it while it was flying in the air. But Shuang succeeds in blocking his arrow, but he turns back due to the arrow's momentum. Despite all this, he does not give up. He tells himself that there are many more difficult challenges waiting inside him. It is impossible for him to abandon himself and be defeated here. He then uses the skill of aiming at the skeleton holding the bow and succeeds in shooting it. At that time, Shuang notices that his special attack has more damage than the one caused by the identification skill. Goal. But the level is very low, so the damage caused by the sword will be small. Here he understands that he must go and raise his level as soon as possible. He then continues his attack on the rest of the structures until he succeeds in eliminating them all. He says that after he was able to determine the method of attacking the structures, defeating them was relatively easy. But suddenly he finds that the bones are shattering as if they will wake up again. By sensing the devil, Shuang senses that there is someone close to him. When he looked up, he saw whoever was controlling and correcting these skeletons were skeletons from the desert. So Chang thinks and ties them to a pole. He orders them to improve their skeletal structure more, so he can level up faster. After a while, when Shuang finished fighting with the skeleton, he gains many experience points and his level increases to level 20. The goal-setting skill also increases in level. Now he can set 2 goals, not 1 goal. So Shuang talks to himself and says that it is because of the skill improvement feature of the demon battle and the change feature. Skills for the devil hunter job. His basic skills are now higher than any player in the 30th level. And with his current abilities, he can defeat Zhang very easily. He then looks at the magical skeletons and sees that they have all committed suicide. He gets very upset because he can't gain experience points from fighting structures and level up again. After that, he goes to the gates of the second plate and opens them. He is shocked as soon as he enters because this room is the leader's room. The one who is sitting on a chair at the highest point of the pot. The game does not know how to determine his level of strength. Around him I saw a large amount of armored skeletons, the lowest of which was level 37. Suddenly, he goes and locks the door behind him so he can't escape. Xuanji remains surprised at all because the leader is supposed to be in the 3rd round. He tells himself that this despicable system is not only one of the monsters in the dungeon, but rather it is different from a map, the entire dungeon, and this no longer resembles the cell he designed in any way. At this moment, he finds all the skeletons attacking him at once. But he is able to block one of their attacks with great difficulty. As soon as he takes him away from a distance, Xuanji comes back again and attacks him, but he cannot cause a single scratch on the armor. When he tries to use the skill of targeting him, he does not find any weakness in him. Here a skeleton of them comes forward to attack him. As soon as Chang sees him, he is very surprised. This is because the structure is wearing armor for the underworld bodies that they make. Before he could think of it, this skeleton attacked him suddenly. But at the last second, Shuang was able to block him. He tells himself that this structure is on a completely different level from the structure that was killing them a while ago. The skeleton remains, so he no longer stands still, and he succeeds in hitting him with his shield with a very strong blow that makes him fly. He is being cautious. Wu Shuang tells himself that now it is not surprising that this drunkard's son entered the cell and was killed. He also says that he is afraid that he too might die here. At this point, the entire structure begins to gather around it. They all attack him at once, to the point that Chang does not know where the blows are coming from. When they stopped hitting him, Shuang was lying on the ground, completely lost. He feels that his heart has stopped beating and that he has no strength left to fight or even escape. Then he thinks about Miss Maraming as he is about to die and asks them to forgive him. Suddenly, a message appears from the game saying that the game heart has stopped beating and the heart has been activated. The second belongs to Satan. Soon a miracle happens and Chang's heart starts beating again. At this moment, the skeleton began to take advantage of the opportunity and tried to attack Shuang while he was lying on the ground in order to find him. Totally. But suddenly Shuang gets up and is able to kill him with just one blow from his hand. He tells the whole structure that they have remained very strong. Here he receives a message from the game saying that the devil's heart has been activated. All skills will be reduced by 50% from the beginning. Plus, you won't be able to feel fear anymore. Chang really feels that his body is thinner and more confident than before. He says that with the help of the devil's heart now, we will be able to defeat all these skeletons easily. During this period, there was another skeleton trying to hit him with his sword, but Shuang breaks the habit and sinks his brain into the ground and finds himself stuck on it. But then he is surprised, because he did not gain any experience points after killing this temple. He says that it is no longer surprising that the bottom is cursed and that it does not affect them. This is because all of this structure is basically just the leader, not even dead souls. He also thinks and tells himself that he was fighting this leader from the beginning, since the moment he put his foot inside him. This room. After that, he takes out Zhong's rocking sword and starts fighting this group of skeletons until he finishes. Totally on it. As soon as he finishes with them, he looks at the leader and feels very intense pressure coming on him to the point that he is unable to do so. Burns a muscle in his body. At that time, the leader gets up from his chair and attacks Chang with his sword. But fortunately, this attack was a direct hit on Chang's side and did not involve him. Chang really feels the danger and the huge gap in power between them. He asks himself if the words that this cave is from the Red Sea are really true. He also says that the leader's appearance was intended so that he would not respond exactly to the attack, because if this attack had occurred in the first place, then he would have died at that time. He thinks after that and says to himself, even though I am both the heart of the devil and the grave of death, but there is something inside me that tells me that I will not fight this leader, no matter what he is. Meanwhile, Ma Shuang was lost in thought. The leader talks to him and asks him if he is human or not. Shuang thinks a little about the answer. He thinks that he turned into Satan after the king's curse on him. He also thinks that he gained experience points after killing Zhong, unlike ordinary players. He responds to the leader and tells him that he has not met with people for a long time. Then the leader responds to him and says that since you are not human, I do not need that. Here Shuang stands and is surprised by what the leader is doing. Then he continues his words and says that he felt something he said in his body. He asks him to open his locker to show him the things he has. Chang carries out his request and actually begins to get all the things he has in the storage room. But when the leader sees her, she doesn't come out and none of them want her. Then he spoke to him again and said that he felt that this thing was in his body. Then Chang takes out a strange necklace and asks him if it is the one he was looking for. The leader, when he sees her, does not believe himself. He says while crying that finally, after 100 years, they were able to meet her. We know that this is the giant tree key necklace. Shuang looks at her and is shocked when he realizes that she is classified as a triple S level. He says that this is definitely a big oversight in the system that a dungeon can reveal a legendary item like this. He asks himself if this legendary object is intended to endanger his life and kidnap him from a leader. But after some thought, he eventually changes his decision, because he knows that he will not be able to defeat this leader, no matter who he is. Suddenly, at this moment, a window appears for Chang from the game. I congratulate her that he was able to do the main task. This mission will be a request from Princess Ad, that he returns the key to the giant tree so that he can prevent the disaster that will happen. This is after the tree was attacked in an evil area. As soon as Shuang reads this, he is very surprised that this leader of the skeletons is a prince. The bodies. He says that this could be an explanation for why the skeletons who fought him were wearing their own armor. The bodies. He also tells himself that he is now supposed to recover the first key, and after that he thinks about the remaining ones. Another time, and here he finally decides and goes to meet the important Zaraka Bull. Then, when Chang presses his button, the leader begins to tell him his story. We go back in time to the days when this prince was still living in the city of the giant tree, specifically in the royal palace on the day of the harvest. We know that this harvest day is a holy day when the jinn kisses. We meet the prince, whose name is Ast, and he is a worker celebrating with the girls of the tribe. At that time, he forgot to leave a guard at the Alisar warehouse in the royal palace. This is the one who let the green Chasma go and steal the most important sacred treasure for the jinn, which is the key to the giant tree. Since then, this key has been stolen. The barrier around the tree disappeared. The dark elves started a war with the forest elves. Because the prince was the one who caused this disaster, the jinn decided that they would strip him of his title of prince and remove him from the tree. That's why he and a group of his followers decided to go on a trip and find the key to the giant tree. But at that time, he was ambushed in the fog forest, and this is what led to the death of him and the people behind him. With him, here is a ghost spirit that was trapped in a magic ball by some evil people. When he opened his eyes again, he was already the leader of the cell and was locked in this cell forever. 20 years ago, there were humans coming into this cell. At that time, when he went to see him, he did not want to kill him. But the evil energy trapped inside his body did not agree with Du and told him that he was killing him. Chang understands this and thinks that this might be the reason why he asked him if he was human or not. I wonder what evil energy this is in the first place. This is because when he designed the game, there was no such thing in the first place. After that, he speaks to the prince, meaning the one who is currently in the cell claims that he wants to lose someone dear to him. He asks him if he has any tears. Even if no one remembers what his tears are, this is what we talked about before and what can cure anything. Sick. He responds to the leader and tells him, I had this bottle for a long time. But because I was feeling bored all this time, I drank it. Shuang. He gets very angry and thinks to himself and tells us that this leader will not be able to do anything. Defeat him. But because of what he did, I am willing to turn him into soap. Time. Here the leader intervenes and interrupts Chang's thoughts and evil thoughts. And he asks him not to be upset. And he tells him if you really want to, there is someone dear to you, so tears are not the only possible way. You save him with it. He also tells him that even tears have complications and consequences. Sideways. The ring I have is supposed to help more than that. He peeps. Chang looks at the ring and sees its specifications. He is very happy at that time and says, this ring is not very good. This even turned out to be better than tears still. In stages. Then the leader talks to him and tells him that he can give him the ring. But on one condition. He uses this spell against them. And he continues his words. He says that the year in which these people used to follow their souls. She was also imprisoned. Now she stayed with me all the time in a cell. The dead. Here he asks Shuhang to try using the bell. And see if this bell really frees them from the evil force trapped in them and finally saves them. Xuanji remains surprised by this request. He says that if the bell was used against the lizard, they could die and be kidnapped forever. But the leader responds to him and tells him that they are already dead. Here, Xuanji is sitting thinking to himself for a while. He says that this bell is a level B family item. If he sold it, he could get at least $1 million. Using it now will be wasted for me. But at the same time, if he didn't use it, he wouldn't be disgusted to take this ring from him. Therefore, he will not be able to save Ming from her illness. Indeed, Chang repeatedly uses jars. At that time, all the jinn who are locked in a cell will finally be freed from their bodies. and they come back to each other and Prince Koust for the last time. But at this moment, when Shuang Beidai finds the leader, he is not like them. They ask why he didn't disappear too. He responds to the leader and tells him that he is very strong, so this bell will never affect him. At that time, Xuanji becomes very frustrated when he hears this. He tells himself that if the leader does not match, no tools will fall from him. And if he had died, then he might have dropped a lot of his tools, and I would benefit from them in the end. But after that, he stays silent and accepts reality. He then asks the leader and says that since you are not dead, I will not be able to leave this cell. But the leader responds to him and tells him that the matter is easier than that. He opens a transport gate on the ground for him to take him out of the cell. Before Chang walked away, the prince gave him a letter and asked him if he met his father one day to give him the letter. This Shuang then uses the transfer portal. The prince goes to open the magazine he took from him. He sits and watches the girls in it, and continues to leave the cell at any cost, because the girls of this world are much more beautiful than the girls of the Jin of the forest. Suddenly, he thinks that out of his stupidity, he forgot to tell Li Shuang that he doesn't know how to control the place that the portal is moving him to, in it, and now he will be transferred to any random place. After that, we go back to the events of the war between the Dark Jin and humans. We know that the Dark Jin is destined to win against humans in the first line of defense. This is due to the disappearance of the Martial Kings. This incident was the most ferocious attack on humans in all of history. After that, we return to the battle that is taking place now. We find a bird attacking a soldier, whose name is Jiang Kao. At that time, Jiang started screaming and kept yelling at his commander to poke him. The bird is about to die completely. But we find a leader in the second defense and the member of the king's party, defending the rival. And the one named Lei Zhong catches him and poke him at the last moment. Then he checks on him and asks him if he is okay or not. He responds to Jiang and they know that Lu Zhong and Jiang Zi are dead. They say that now there is no point in participating in this battle. These villains in front of us hide in the dark and control the monster in order to attack us. We will never be able to win this war. His commander responds to me and says that before the Supreme Commander comes, we are supposed to support humanity's first line of defense. But Jiang responds to him and tells him that our Supreme Leader has been missing from his grocery store for more than a month. Now I'm afraid because if he doesn't appear, we could all die. Suddenly, in the middle of their talk, they found the giant tree all turning red and its leaves starting to appear. They found that the monsters and the dark elves also began to withdraw. This made Commander Lizanja surprised by their withdrawal, because he is sure that they have an advantage in this battle. After a while, signs appear from the tree and it begins to open. It also throws many small balls in the area where people are standing. Jiang is trying to explore his balls, but as soon as he holds it, he finds that it turns red. The commander here warns that he does not come close to her and throws her out of his hand immediately. As soon as he finished speaking, all the balls in the arena exploded. But Jiang is able to escape it thanks to his commander's warning. We return again to Shuang, which is the transportation gateway, and transferred him to a village infected with the epidemic. He would be surprised by the place he stayed in. He doesn't even know where he is, or what are all the islands of the tree around him. But he asks himself in amazement if this is the deepest flaw in the giant tree. He says that if this is the case, then this place is the resting place of the Jin's Qibla. He also says that this place is the highest dungeon in terms of difficulty. He asks himself if the temple was at the time he was moved to this place on purpose. At this moment, your blue cocoon will be attached to the tree. As soon as Chang walks past it, it begins to unravel and a very hideous creature emerges from it. We know that this is a level 51 death monster. This monster is not fully developed, so it crawls on the ground in one direction. Because He's not here yet full of limbs. As soon as he gets close to him, he turns his hand into a sharp weapon and attacks with it. But Xuanji managed to block his attack before the blade fully penetrated the body. He talks to himself and says that the gap between them in level is very large. Here he uses the skill of targeting the monster so that he can identify its weak point and defeat it easily. But then he doesn't find the monster's weak point either. That's why he's surprised and asks himself if zombie-type monsters have no weaknesses. At this time, he notices a strange red line emerging from the monster's body. He concludes that in order for him to die, he must cut the line coming out of his body. He goes to attack the monster to make it retreat. Then he starts rushing at it and is actually able to cross the red line. This is what makes the monster lose its strength and fall directly to the ground. Chang is happy after that when he finds himself gaining a large amount of experience points due to his defeat of the monster. He says that he just needs to quickly determine the monster's weak points, and after that, killing them will be easy. By lineage. But suddenly, Chang finds persistent things coming to his attention. This is what makes him shocked by what is happening and says that he forgot something very important.